So I want to start off and thank again Dr. Rakow for making this happen. So this week's parsha is Parshas Korach. Parshas Korach is an interesting parsha because it's one of the hardest parshas to understand, because Korach seemed to have had everything. He wasn't the one able to take the Jews out of Mitzrayim. Moshe Rabbeinu did. Moses did. But so the question is, what does Korach want, and what was the problem that was going on? So the Medrash actually says over that he didn't want Moshe Rabbeinu's job. He might have wanted Aaron HaKohen's job. And the question is, what went wrong? Like, what's going on? There's an interesting Medrash that talks about the wealthiest people ever to live, and one of them names is Korach. Korach is one of the wealthiest people ever to live. There's also an interesting Medrash that says another interesting thing that we know about Korach. Korach was one of the smartest people ever to live. Obviously, Shlomo Melech, the King Solomon, was the smartest man ever to live, because God gave him a special present to be the smartest person ever to live. But Korach was one of the smartest people ever to live that had to work on themselves to get to a point of understanding or whatever it was. So the question is, what went wrong? He had two of the greatest capabilities that anybody would ever want, to be very intelligent, and at the same time he had a great capability, he had great ability, he had great wealth. I don't know if that's abilities technically, especially you're out in the midbar, what are you going to do with all the money that you have? But clearly there was some type of need or want for that, because if not, then why would he collect all that wealth? It's just interesting, because one of the ways of collecting wealth in the time of the midbar, in the time of the desert, was that they collected it off the Egyptians after the Egyptians were chased the Jews and the Egyptians lost. Now, obviously, Korach became wealthy somehow. I'm not sure exactly how. It brings us to a really important point, I think. I think it's a really important point that it's trying to teach us. It's trying to teach us a lesson. That what happens is that having or wanting or getting is not such a is important to want or whatever it is. But if somebody has, this comes to a point where, like, what do I want already? It was just an interesting thing I once read in a book about a guy who was a commodities broker who was probably making at that point, he was probably making $20 or $50 million a year. And he interviewed Sir Templeton, and he said Sir Templeton said, Sir Templeton, when he interviewed him, it was worth maybe $3 billion. And so he interviewed him, asked him, what's the goal? Like, where are you trying to get? How much money are you trying to get? How much money do you need to live on? And Sir Templeton said, he said the first $275 million, this is 1983 or 84 or something like that, the first $275 million you need to live on. You need to be able to live. But after that, you're just looking at the person who's more wealthy than you, and you're trying to catch up. Korach had nobody to catch up to anymore. He was the top guy. He was one of the richest people ever to live. The other one was Pharaoh. The other one was Haman, another extremely wealthy person, hard to understand. The other thing is, he was extremely intelligent. But what happens is, when you have everything, now what am I supposed to get? Where am I going from here? There's actually one more interesting thing. I once read a book. It talks about after somebody retires, like after you retire, your life starts again. Something along those lines was the concept of the book, that if you have nothing to do in your life, the life doesn't continue on. You have to have things to look forward to. Happens to be Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky used to say all the time, that when you visit me, reminding me about the next time I'm going to see you, because it's going to keep me going until then. So the idea is that we have to have things to look forward to. A person who has nothing to look forward to, they hit the max. Now they're at a position where they have nothing to do, and at the same time our value in our own eyes is based on what I think I could still do. Our value is not necessarily based on what I have, because I have that already. But we have to live tomorrow's moment, not the past moment. And to live tomorrow's moment, I have to be able to understand what my value is going forward, because that's the moment that I have to live. Obviously, the way to circumvent that is to always have goals, always have things to look forward to. If someone, God forbid, has to retire or wants to retire or whatever the story is, they have to have ways to keep themselves busy after they retire. You see all these crazy stories that happen about these people that don't survive just a couple of years after that. Or the people who became very wealthy overnight and now they have their needs and a few months later become bankrupt again. The idea is that we always have to have things to look forward to. And I think that that's a big lesson that we have to take out of this week's Parsha. It's not so much what went on with the fight that went on. Understandable, there was a fight that went on, which maybe one day we'll try to understand. It's a difficult thing to understand. Why is Korach starting up with Moshe Rabbeinu, one of the greatest people ever to live? But we do have to understand something else. For ourselves, we have to know there has to be something to look forward to, some goal that we're going forward to the next thing. Hashem should bless us all, that we should have great goals, and obviously that should be able to make us great, and we should be able to accomplish too. Good Shabbos, everybody.